We are building a custom exhaust for the Turbo 3800 Camaro. This is one of those universal kits. This is 3-inch exhaust pipe, mild steel, so that's what we're going to go with. Now, we have this stainless steel V-band downpipe right here, but we got to connect it back to the rest of the car. And I do want to do a complete exhaust all the way to tail tips. So right now, first part, we need to get it out of the engine bay where the AC compressor used to be, and then down towards the axle. That's going to be the goal of this video. Let's see how far we can actually get. So this is kind of what I'm planning out. So taking this intercooler piping that I had left over, this is about a 90 degree, and it's cut off. And so I'm thinking, kind of goes out here, let's 90 back, and then we get just under that idler pulley in between the feed line and then that battery ground line, and that should work out just fine. From there we can maybe do another sort of 90 or some angle to get back there. And then we need to bring the pipe directly under this manifold, and I threw in one of the 45s down there. It's not going to work just out of the box, we're going to have to cut it up, but there is enough room. It's above, so the motor mount's here, header's here, there's a gap right in between, and that's where we can fit this exhaust piping in. Oh, you can smell how much oil is coated in this. If you didn't know, they coat this in oil so it doesn't rust during shipping. You can actually see the oil on the inside. Alright, so we have a 90 built out of this. Let's see if we can make something happen now. Just real quick, so this kit comes with 2 straights, 2 45s, 2 90s, and 2 U's or 180s. So that's what we got to work with. Now, the 45s I'm not going to use right now. I'm going to save it till we go over the axle. Saw my research. Looks like this is exactly what you need to go up and over the rear axle right there, the 245s. So we're going to save that. That means we got to come up with everything else without touching these. So I've came up with a method. This is working for me, so I'm going to share it. Using painter's tape to kind of hold the pipes together. That way I don't have to tack weld and then join it up. I can just tape it up and see how it looks. Now the tape's not going to get me exact, but it's going to get me pretty close, and I think close enough. So taped up, I have a extra V-band flange, added it to the pipe here. Now originally I was going down and then curving the 90, but I flipped it around. We're actually curving at 90 degrees almost immediately into the other half of that 180. So it's like a 90, 90. We're going between the motor mount, the header, and then we're going to shoot down at 90. Underneath here you can see what I'm talking about. We're coming out of the turbo, and then here's the ID/OD. It slips over, and it was just the other half of that 180 going right into here. Now it's pretty close. It's touching the frame a little bit, or actually it's not, but it's really close. However, that might be just because of the V-band. We also have some wiggle room on the downpipe of the turbo itself. That's not tightened, so this is close enough. And as you can see, we are still pretty far away from everything, so that's good. We're close to the feed line, so we'll need to put some sleeving over this. And then if I was drag car, I could just dump it right here, but I'm not. So here we have a 90. This is out of the box, and it dumps right here. Now we're not going to dump it there, so I need to cut it somewhere. That way I can snake back into this tunnel area. Looks like we got to make another 90. So what I'm going to do is tack up what I've got currently, see how it fits, and then we'll worry about this. All right, we have hit a roadblock. Got everything tack welded up so far with this V-band flange down, and then I attached the 45. Said I wasn't going to use it, but I'm just doing it to mock up because it's the perfect angle, honestly. And it's just held on with painter's tape. Now, I did this because I want to make sure this is removable. I need to add some sort of connector, most likely a V-band, somewhere. And I need to be able to remove this. But there's no way to get this out of here. At least not without doing a ton of work. So that leads me to believe that this is not going to work. I need to add a connector somewhere. Now, we have this V-band here from the downpipe, the stainless steel downpipe. I could add a V-band. Well, I can't really do it here because this is a bigger diameter and I don't want to have to deal with welding gaps and whatnot. And I could do it here, but that's just kind of silly, I think. And I can't really do it. Yeah, I can't do it back here at all. Maybe here, but it starts to bend, so that wouldn't really work either. So my next thought is, well, let's chop off the V-band on the stainless, chop off the V-band here, weld these together, and then add a V-band somewhere down here. Maybe right here by the oil filter where it's straight. The other thought is I have to add a wideband bung somewhere. I could do it in the stainless steel. Stainless steel is hard to drill. It's not the end of the world, but that would be a little difficult. But also, if I add the wideband, let's say right here, I mean, that's fairly close to the turbo. You don't want it to be too close because we don't want to burn up. But I don't know, I can't really add it down here in the bend because then it's going to be pointed up, and that won't, I don't think that can work either. So maybe this is my only option, unless I want to go lower like I was originally thinking, but I don't want to spend forever just contemplating the options. I just kind of want to commit and go. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to work. It needs to be good enough. I think that's where we're just going to settle. So maybe I do just cut off this V-band and go from there. I've been making quite a bit of progress. I just put the camera down and just got to it, and I think I'm getting somewhere. So quick tip here, these V-bands, since these are mandrel bent, that means the bends are not 3 inches. Even though this straight here and it has a recess, oh sorry, on this side it has a recess, it's a straight, perfect 3 inches, lines up perfectly, easy to weld. However, if you cut in the bend and then you try to attach the V-band, the bend, since it's mandrel bent, it's not 3 inches in diameter. It kind of widens out and egg shapes kind of. So here we have just that, and I'm going to have a big gap to fill down here. As you can see daylight through there. It might be easier to just weld on the inside. I don't know if that's really frowned upon or what, but anyways, this is tacked up. And so we have from the downpipe up and over the motor mount, and we're going to V-band here. That's how I'm going to do my disconnect. Okay, next step, we need a 45 almost exactly like this, just I'm going to cut off this bit of it here. Now I could totally use this, but let's get a little practice with some pie cuts and save these for, like I said, the over the axle part. So let's use one of these straights because I'm not going to need both of these straights, at least not in their entirety. And let's build out a 45. So let's just grab this one and let's start building. You can see it already flash rusting. It's mild steel for you. So you can tell where this was mandrel bent. This section to about right there. That's the bend. Here's a straight. This is a straight. So let's get our measurement here. We need a straight section here, 7.5 inches. Okay. We're gonna need that cut in pie cuts, and then we're gonna want another piece about that big. Let's say it's just over 3 inches, so we'll do 3 1/4. That should be good. 7 1/2, 3 1/4, and then build out the pie cuts. So what I'm gonna do, 7 1/2, mark it, cut out, and then 3 1/4 cut out. Now to get the pie cut, not an exact science, just kind of eyeballing it. So I put my bandsaw at I'm calling it a 7 1/2 degree angle. There's no marking for it, so I just got as close as I could in between 0 and 15. And then when I put this down, you see it's gonna have smaller here, bigger there. We're gonna go for that. We're gonna see how that looks, see if that's our angle. Now 7 1/2, that's the math to get a 45-degree bend. Now, when I measure it up, since I have a 45 right here, if I just kind of do one of these, we're not quite as far as I want. So that means I just need a little bit longer length. So the bigger cut is definitely gonna work out more in my favor. As you see here, what I got going on, we got our line here, line here. This one flipped 180 degrees. We got our line up top, and I marked a line, but it's a little bit off. That's okay. I thought my cut was on that side, it was on that side. But essentially what we got going on now is a 45. So we got to cut. I want to do this piece again, but we just got to rotate the pipe. So I think I'm near the end of my pie cuts. I zeroed out the cut here. We're cutting straight, but keeping that 7 1/2 degree angle on this part. So cut this down. That should be roughly my length, and let's see what it looks like. Here it is, final-ish product. Tacked it up, and if we lay it over, we're 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch short of what I wanted, but that should be fine still. It should still work. Learn a lot. One of my cuts, when I had it angled and then I kept it angled, well, that just kind of threw things off. I think because I didn't mark a top and a bottom, and I got mixed up somewhere. So one of these ones is a little off, but it gets my 45 degrees. Somehow I did it. So let's make sure it fits, and then we can fully weld. And here it is, and it slips in to our joint up there. Oh man, that one's really surface resting already. But it slips in, we'll weld it up there, and nice over here. We're not touching, which is fantastic, and that's pretty close. I mean, you can't tuck it in any better than that. That's great. So I need to mark. Actually, what I should do is get in here and just throw some tacks on that. That would be ideal. And then from here, we have to go straight, bend, get to the drive shaft, and go back. So I'm thinking right here, we're gonna put a resonator. So let me figure out what size I need, order it up, and then we can get back to this and try to use this hanger. This spot as a hanger would be perfect. Got it removed. Was able to tack it up. Man, you can really see how the surface resting really fast. All right, so while we wait for the resonator slash muffler to come, we can tack this up and maybe even fully weld like to the V-band to here, because we know for sure we're using this. So all welded up, and it came out pretty decent. I mean, look at that. Welding the V-band, and then I didn't burn through any holes really at all. My fitment was fairly decent for just a bandsaw and then a quick run on the belt sander, but Yep. So we got our 45. We can throw this in the car and keep going from there. A little bonus here. So working on adding heat shielding to the spark plug wires because of the way I route the exhaust, and 90-degree boots aren't slipping in here. So clamping it in my vise, I'm gonna squeeze it because there's a metal ring in here. I'm gonna squeeze it so it snaps the ring in half, and then fish it out with some pliers, maybe cut it some more with the angle grinder. And that's a little what the ring looks like. Got it out. It does fray the ends a bit, but it's not that big of a deal. So let's install this. I'm gonna put this side closer to the spark plug, and then this side will just be hanging up. Here's the spark plug wires installed. So route it from a top on this side, the passenger side, because like I was saying, it's too close between the manifold and where I put the exhaust. I felt more comfortable bringing it up here. Now with the wire shielding that you see here, it should be more than protected. It's not touching anything. It's not even like that close to really anything. Zip tie it up to the harness back here so it's nice and neat, and if I need to, I can pull the spark plugs from a top. Passenger side, or driver's side, I left the same underneath. It works perfect. Plenty room. I don't even need the heat shielding on this side because it's so far out of the way. There's nothing in the way. Got the exhaust installed. As you see, I painted it. It's a aluminum color. It's a high heat paint. I also primed it. Now, the reason I'm eventually gonna wrap this, but the fiberglass wrap causes it to rust from the inside, basically, much faster than it would if you just left it open, because it collects moisture. So paint's just gonna help it last a little bit longer since it is mild steel from down there below. So yeah, that's the plan. Wrap it eventually, paint to protect it, especially because this is going to be the hottest area of the exhaust. I will wrap the manifold area and the crossover pipe too eventually. Maybe the crossover pipe much sooner, but the manifold I'm expecting to crack. So I want to see where they crack, and then I can reinforce the weld, add flex joints, whatnot, but I want to see where they crack first. That's the point of doing that. Underneath here you see it going up and over the motor mount. We're not touching anything. We got plenty of room. Great. And there's our V-band collector. Again, nice and free. And I kind of just moved it away. It's still a little loose. Angled it just to make sure I can fit this muffler in with no problems. And here is the muffler slash resonator. It's kind of a knockoff of the Flowmaster Flow FX. And so we'll be able to tuck it up here against the heat shielding. Bring it this way a little bit so it tucks in like you saw before. This is where the factory catalytic converter went. And then we'll have to build a pipe, attach it to the hanger here. We'll be able to reuse this, which is great. Kind of 90 and then go into the drive shaft area like the factory exhaust did. So this is where I'm going to end up and leave this video. I believe this is about 20 inches. I think it's 14, 3, and 3. So 14 inches of resonator, muffler slash resonator. It does muffle the sound a little bit, but what I like is it resonates. So it gets rid of that high raspy frequencies that you just get from a V6. And on top of that, we have the turbo as a muffler, so it is quieter than it was before when I just had just a smaller 9-inch resonator, and that was it, and the catalytic converter. But now we have the turbo, a larger resonator, and it's quieter. It's working out. So a few things before we end it off here. You can see a paint mark. The hood is hitting. I dented it in a little, but I need to dent it in more. It's hitting the turbo here. The other thing is we have a wastegate to tie into this exhaust. That's no problem. We'll do that in the future. I took off the idler bracket and its pulley, and because of the way I routed the exhaust, it was just too close to the idler for my comfort. I don't think I would have been able to get belt on without it touching the belt when the engine moves. So we're gonna go the other route. As you see, I took off the tensioner pulley right now because I'm gonna replace the tensioner with a different style tensioner pulley, and we're just gonna run it that way. Now I'll do a video on that and explain that more in depth. I need to build some sort of bracket or brace for the turbo because I want it to be attached to the engine, so it's not just the exhaust supporting it. Again, to give the manifolds and the exhaust a better chance of just not cracking, even though they're going to. It's without a doubt they're going to crack, especially on this passenger side here, which is why people add a flex joint right about here, which is not a bad idea. I'm probably going to end up doing that, but not for this phase one. All right, so we've heard it. It sounds good. It kind of all worked out, but I still have some more to do. So that's going to be in a part 2 exhaust video where we actually go up over the axle and then out to the tailpipes, part 2. So stay tuned for that. That ticking you were hearing in the video is just exhaust leaks because I'm not fully tightened at the clamp here, and I just slid the muffler over, so it's going to sound like exhaust leak. So yeah. But keep in mind, this engine did kind of have a tick until it got warmed up anyways. So it is what it is. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.